Good morning, everybody. Today we're doing, I couldn't think of a better name for it than summer sandwich salads. These don't have to be in sandwiches, and in fact, usually aren't. But we're talking about vegan versions of tuna salad, chicken salad, egg salad, Mexican corn salad. And we could put those in a sandwich or we could put them somewhere else too. We'll talk a little more about that. Let me get here where I can see your comments. So I see a couple of people are on, so come say hey. Let me know you're here. It will make me happy. So today, what we're going to do are quite a few of these different salads. I'm going to talk about several ways you could do it, and we'll do one way. There are a couple of recipes I'm kind of putting the finishing touches on today. I have most of the recipes written up. You're going to get some extra recipes as well. So you'll get a little bit of everything today. So first with the class, I'm going to go ahead. We're doing potato salad and Mexican corn salad. So I'm just going to go ahead and start cooking those potatoes. So let me let you see. I've cut those up. They're just in the Instant Pot. You could really cook these on the stove. You could cook these wherever you wanted to. This is just super easy for me, especially while we are doing the rest of the class. So I'm just going to possibly, there we go, put on the lid. And hey, Linda. And we're gonna cook these. Usually, if I'm doing mashed potatoes or something, I cook them on high for 10 minutes. I'm going to cook them on high for 5 minutes because I'm going to be doing a bunch of other things. If they're slightly undercooked, I'll just let them saute, put the saute on and let them cook in the water a little bit more. This is about 4 cups of potatoes covered with water. And again, you're going to get all these recipes. So I am hot. It's not plugged in. Imagine that. That's the way sometimes things happen here at the Hester household. Cheryl actually moved some of the plugs around so that we wouldn't kill each other or ourselves while things are going on. Okay, here we go. But evidently I haven't plugged this in since then. So ta-da, now it's on, and I'm going to pressure cook for 5 minutes on high. And like I said, chances are I'm going to be ignoring it and moving on with my life, which means it probably will be more likely to be slightly overcooked than undercooked. If I was doing this right now for lunch, I probably would put it on 7 minutes and give it that little bit of extra. But it's totally up to you. And again, you could boil these on the stove too. The other thing we're going to do to prep for later on is I have 4 ears of corn here. Hi, Colleen. I know, it's so funny that I thought no one would want to take this class, but it actually seems like more people want to take this because I think in the summer you get very nostalgic for old things like how your mama made egg salad and things like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to roast these. We're going to make it like a salad. So we could do it a couple of different ways, but this is the way we're doing it today. We're going to roast these, and I'm just going to put them actually in the air fryer, probably for about 5 or 10 minutes per side. I want it to get a little bit golden. Then we're going to let them cool. If you don't have an air fryer, you could do this in the oven. I probably would do it around 350 to 375. I'm going to do it a little bit. Put it on 10 minutes for 375. On the air fryer, that's the Breville. So what the Breville does is it preheats first. So it throws off some cooking times with some other air fryers. But in general, what you're wanting to do, because at that high heat with all the force of the wind going through it and everything, is it kind of caramelizes some of that corn sugar. And so what I want it to do is get close to that, and then we're going to cut those roasted corn kernels off and put in our salads. So these are prepping first stuff we're going to do in just a little while. Okay, so the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to make a very loud car out there. I don't know if you can hear it. Is we're going to make jackfruit tuna salad. Traditionally, you use chickpeas to make tuna salad. And if you want your old-fashioned tuna salad, you could do one, both, or a combination. So you can do it any way. So let's look at this jackfruit for a minute. And let me get cutting board. Just so you can see it a little bit better, I think. So all I've done is drained it. This is one of the seed, like the outside of the seeds. In ours, this is edible, so you don't have to worry about that at all. You don't have to take them out, but you can, right? You can see a seed pocket right there. And this is actually just Trader Joe's green jackfruit. You can get it on Amazon, and you can get it at an Asian market. And the ingredients are jackfruit, water, salt, and citric acid, and that's pretty typical. Now, if I push it here, I get those shreds that look kind of like barbecue, which is why it's used so much. And then I love using, usually what I do is I pick this part apart with my hand to get those little chicken-like pieces if I'm doing a soup. Today, we're going to try something different. Let me see if I can set this a little bit better. Nope. Nope. Okay, that's what we got to work with today. So the weather is a little bit weird. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're just going to pulse this a little bit. So I think it was last week, or not last week, last class, where we did the flautas and the taquitos. We used some shredded jackfruit. I was looking for that product and I couldn't find it. So we're going to kind of make our own shredded jackfruit by putting this in the food processor. And again, I did strain this for the most part. And we just want it to get chopped up a little extra. That's all we're looking to do. Let's see if you can. I don't know if you can. You're probably going to see this better from the front. Okay, so we're just going to pulse it. And perhaps this is not plugged in either. I got a plug in over here. This is the first time every single appliance has not been plugged in the house constantly, probably for 2 years. So sorry about the wait. There we go. That should work just fine. There we go. And really, as you can kind of see, we probably could use this for chicken salad too if we wanted to. I'll let you see in the top. I'm just going to sit down, but see how it's flaking it really nicely? You could do this by hand if you don't have a food processor, but it really does just look a little more like that fancy tuna. And that's kind of what we're looking for. Fancy tuna salad. Just want to pulse a couple of pieces I felt like weren't quite pulsed enough. And that's the Breville just saying, hey, let's see. So we could leave it like this where it's fancy tuna, or we could keep going until it looks more like that. More like cat food canned tuna. So it just depends on what it is that you're reminiscing, right? And for the tuna salad, I am going to make it kind of like what I'm used to, what I grew up on. So kind of a southern relish one. But you could also, if you wanted to make it kind of more Mediterranean, you could put lemon and olive oil. We're going to go for that whole creamy, mayo, yogurty sort of thing and talk about some of the options for different diets. Okay. This over here. But this looks great. To me, this looks better than if I broke it up by hand. And that's why it's worth rinsing my food processor out for. Also, honestly, it's not really making a big mess either. And with tuna salad, just like the tuna salad, I don't know where you grew up, but in the South, they had tuna salad stuffed in a fresh tomato. They hollow out the tomato or cut it up into a flour and pull everything out and put a big scoop of it in the middle of it. And that could be done with any of these salads too. We could put them in lettuce leaves on top of salads, or we can put them in a sandwich. Like, so this tuna, we could still do like the traditional tuna melt with it as well. So there we go. I just think it looks beautiful. I'm really happy with this. Now, jackfruit doesn't really taste like much at all. You can taste a little bit of salt. You can taste a little bit of can. It doesn't have like this strong flavor. Also, it doesn't have a lot of protein. So this wouldn't be the protein component of your meal. But we could do something, and we're going to make like a tofu mayo as well. So we could put the tofu mayo with this. Or we could do this and chickpeas together. There's a lot of different ways if you're looking to make something that's high protein. Though everything doesn't have to be high protein either. One of the things I got to try today, and let me, and I can show you this way, and then I'll yeah, you can. You can sort of see it. It's lava dairy-free yogurt. It's a new to me yogurt. I've been hearing a lot of people talk about it in Clubhouse. It's quite thick. I got, of course, for anything we're doing today, we'd want to do the unsweetened plain. And so, but see how thick it is? So we can use that instead of mayo. We can use soy yogurt instead of mayo. So in anything, so like there's also vegan mayo. If you do oil, certainly you can do vegan mayo. If you don't, you could do something like this, or we'll make a tofu mayo. One of the things about this that I noticed is it has almost an oniony flavor. I think it would make a really good dip. I think it probably will be okay in some of these salads, but I found that a little bit odd. It does have a lot of probiotics. It is not low fat at all. So let's see, this is 3 servings. So how many ounces? 3 goes into 16. Not quite. So like maybe 5 ounces, maybe 5 point something ounces. So that's probably, it's supposed to be 2 cups. All right. This is 1 tablespoon is 70 calories. 1 serving is 174. There's 13.5 grams of fat, 8 grams of fat. And obviously per serving, so when we get there, it's probably going to be about equal. So while I was excited about this, I don't know that this is going to help us with our quest to not add a lot of fat. Let me bring a couple of other things that I have in here out too. I've got a couple of other yogurts we can look at and a sour cream. And let's look at what the fat and ingredients are in those. Now I am adding in, yeah, Look at all these. I am adding in a recipe to make your own soy yogurt. You can also use some of those pea protein milks. They don't work as good, and they're going to be a little bit lumpy, and you may have to strain them. But if we're putting it in a salad, that's not that big a deal. So let's see, the Kite Hill unsweetened, 3/4 of a cup is a serving size, as 10 grams of fat. And that's with almonds and almond milk, okay? The Forager is a cashew based, and I think hopefully I showed the cat. So there we go. And all these are plain unsweetened. This has 5.3 ounces, so that probably clued me into what that one really is. It's 7 grams of fat, and it just has cashew milk, tapioca starch, locust bean gum, coconut cream, and cultures. Kite Hill has almond milk, starch, citrus fiber, locust bean gum, xanthan gum, live cultures. So typically the ones we like, because they're thick and luscious, will either have nuts, coconut cream, or thickeners in them. Now, if you make soy yogurt at home and you let it culture extra, it will get thicker. So that's something else to go on. Now, we can also use these sour creams. And let's see if there's much. Okay, this is 2 tablespoons, and it's 2 grams of fat. So this was 1 tablespoon and 8 grams of fat. So this Forager sour cream has less fat than the mayo and some of the yogurts. And with the Kite Hill sour cream, I'm just trying, yeah, I think that one's, okay. 2 tablespoons, calories are 50, total fat 5 grams. So they're all kind of similar. Now this one is out of date, but let's look at it anyhow. We just won't. It's a little extra out of date, though I think actually it's cultured, so it should be fine. And this, actually, it's fine. So I'm just tasting to see if it tastes super weird or sour or something. But let me let you see. Like, we're talking really thick. And you get less, but it's kind of nice. I use this a lot on tacos and things like that. And usually there's some separation. You have to mix it in. But that's what's happening when we're looking at these kind of products. Okay, so there's not like one is the best. It's what fits in with you, right? If you can't have any nuts, then some of these are a little bit harder. If you can't have soy, then the yogurts become a little bit better. Let me check on the, check the date on this one too. And this is the Forager sour cream. And I'll get another spoon. And I just want you to see these because that's kind of what's important about this, is knowing what your options are. See how it looks very similar to yogurt? I like this. Forager also has a really good sour cream that I like as well. So I just wanted to let you know about some of these. I think we are going to try some of this with the tuna. I'm going to go ahead and use some of the mayo I have in the fridge right now. So if you're avoiding it, and if you're avoiding any kind of oil, you do not have to do this. That's the most important thing that I want to get across, is that no matter what your dietary limitations are, what you're trying to work on health-wise, we can work with this. And we should have plenty of time to make tofu mayo too, because it's really easy to make. Okay, let me check on this. Perfect timing. So it's not done yet, but I'm just going to turn it a little bit. And you probably can't see, but in the very, very ends, they're starting to get a little coloration. That's what I'm looking to have happen more all over. So for this old-fashioned one, I'm going to probably put in about 2 tablespoons of mayo. see from overhead. And again, we could put olives in there, or capers, and all kinds of chopped vegetables. But I wanted this one to be kind of just like the one I grew up on. So I'm actually going to put a squirt of yellow mustard in there. It's in new bottles. So, and if you don't have this kind of mustard, you could use dry mustard. And you can always go back and forth with either one depending what a recipe calls for. Okay. And I'm literally probably putting about a teaspoon. So you could do like a half a teaspoon to 1 teaspoon mustard. Okay. And let's put in a little bit of salt. Let's start, because the jackfruit is a little salty already, I'm just going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon. But we can change that as we go along. I think it's going to need a little boost. And I'm going to put in a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Okay. Now, you can go either way on your relish. To me, tuna salad is just a way to eat relish. So you could do a dill pickle or a sweet relish. And I really love the sweet relish, but in general, there's going to be sugar in the sweet relish. So if you're looking to avoid sugar, you could do a couple of things. You could either cut up, if you don't have to buy dill pickle relish, you can just cut up your dill pickle. The only addition you get, I think, is a couple of red peppers chopped up in there, which aren't really helping anything except for pretty. Now, if you're avoiding salt, it's hard, if not impossible, to find salt-free pickles because they're part of preserving them. They're using salt and things like that as well. Sometimes you can find them lower sodium. If you could, and let's see how we're doing. Yeah, there's some salt in capers. You could try that. You could put a little pickle juice. You could see where it kind of falls on your spectrum of okay. But I don't want you to feel pressured. If you can't do pickles at all, you could do some other things, like maybe like some sun-dried tomatoes, maybe add some nutritional yeast in here, even though I'm not going to. You want to get something to get that really good yummy flavor. You could put just some vinegar in there. You could use balsamic, a flavored balsamic, that also would help. A little tomato powder could help too. So those are all different things you could do. So if you can't have something that I'm telling you, and I'm not giving you an alternative, if you're watching this live, ask me now. If you're watching it later, please put it in the comments in Podia. I'm going to put about 2 tablespoons. And chances are I'm going to put more, because remember, this is the one that I grew up with in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. So, and so I'm just going to mix this around. And for tuna salad, I think another one we could do is we could do a Mediterranean version. We could get either some chopped fresh red peppers or roasted red peppers in a jar, or that we make at home. And we could chop those together, maybe some olives, a little bit of balsamic vinegar. If you do olive oil, you could put a little olive oil in there. So that would be one way you could do that. And the thing is with these salads is it's kind of like a never-ending variation on it. So we're going to do a curried soy curl chicken salad. And so we're going to use apples and grapes, and you could do the same thing with the jackfruit too, without a problem. Okay, so I just want to make sure I mix this up really well. And the point of these really being, I know we eat these all year long, but them being kind of summer salads, is that there's little or minimal cooking that you're doing, and that you can use these so many different ways. Okay. And I'm going to taste this. Let me get my tasting spoons over here. And let's see, this is where we're starting. Actually, that's pretty good right now. I could add a little more mayo. So if you're not minding adding some extra fat, you could do that. However, we could also just, I think, still put a little bit of balsamic vinegar. I think I want to put in a little bit of paprika. I also, let me get this unplugged, would like to put in a little bit of garlic powder. So I'm going to put in, start with a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder. And that's just the Instant Pot saying hello. Okay. And I'm going to put in about a 1/4 teaspoon of paprika. And we could also do things like mixing in like coconut bacon if you wanted to do that, or just kind of build your sandwich as that, as a crunch, you know, element to it. Can't remember if I don't think we've made a lot of bacon in the classes. Maybe we need to do a bacon class before the year's out, because there's so many ways to make bacon. Vegan bacon, of course. Okay, and this just, the paprika changed the color ever so slightly, but that's okay. All right, let's see if that, that really pretty much did it for me. I still could add a little more pickles, so I'm going to go ahead for me and add a whole other tablespoon of pickles. But you might want to stop. Just stop there, because it may be just plenty for you. So don't feel like you have to go further than maybe you want to go. But if you love pickles, like to me, I probably could just have a pickle sandwich and be pretty thrilled with my life. There is another element we're going to add in here. And that's going to make it taste a little fishier. And I have 2 different things right here, but you could use a variety of things. So I have some kelp granules and some dulce granules, and they're just seaweed. And so it's going to bring some of the flavor of the sea to it. And it just looks like that. So that's the kelp. Definitely very fishy. Cheryl will not eat this tuna salad if I put this on, but I'm going to do it. She's going to have the chicken salad. So, and the dulce are red. Also tasting deliciously of the sea. So I think we're going to put, let's go ahead and put 1/2 teaspoon and taste it, and then try it again. Get that much in there. And you can get these at Whole Foods or Amazon. Also, if you want to just toast, you know, tear up and grind down and toast a piece of nori, that works just as fine. So if you're making sushi at home and have nori, you don't need to get kelp granules. These are quick and easy and very easy to find. They're at Whole Foods, Sprouts, and you can get them on Amazon very easily. Now this is what's going to make it taste more seafoody. Let's see if that was enough or if we need to go a little bit further. I'm going to put a teaspoon in. Total. So 1 teaspoon total. And we're also going to be using something in the egg salad to make it taste like eggs. So here's the trick. Cheryl hates seafood. So when I make tuna salad or crab salad for her, I don't put it in there at all. She also can't have sushi. She can't eat the nori. It tastes too much like seafood to her. And we could go ahead and put things like shredded carrots, shredded zucchini. You could put a lot of veggies in here. If you're going to do something like that, though, you're going to want to eat it immediately. If you have it like this, it should last in the fridge for at least 5 days. Right? Let's try now. And what Sandra is saying is perfectly good. I think it's really good. Obviously, I like it. As Sandra B said, she would use just a little dulce or kelp granules instead of salt, and that's perfectly fine too. So, and if you're already looking to lower salt or eliminate salt, you can sometimes find jackfruit packed in water instead of brine. Brine just is salt water. You can also rinse it some. So for those of you who are already on a very low salt diet, it may be just fine the way it is. You may not need anything else. The little garlic also kind of adds a little bit of that salty feel in your mouth. And so I often do, my plain salt substitute is 1 tablespoon of garlic powder, 1 tablespoon of onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of ground celery seed. Mix that together well, and then just use it like you would for salt. So as much to taste is usually how I go. But yeah, absolutely. So if you're also looking to get some sodium in, and you're okay with having sea vegetables, kelp or dulse or anything like that would work, nori, because those are going to have some salt naturally from the sea. Okay, and so that's our tuna salad. Let you see it again from up here, and then I'm going to have to be a little more mindful because I have to put some of these salads straight into the fridge, so we'll do that really quick too. Even though this is eggless mayo, it's still not good just to let the stuff sit out. But what I love is it really would fool anyone. And not that you're trying to fool them, but if you're having a craving for some sort of food memory. And you know, one thing I love with tuna salad is a tuna melt. So I love getting like that English muffin, heating it up, melting some cheese on top of the tuna salad, and to me that's pretty daggone fabulous. So that's one thing to think about too. And Sandra would add chopped onion and celery, and I think that is perfectly great. Like, so this one for me, and I'll put options. We'll put we're going to put celery. I'm not going to put diced onion in any of mine because Cheryl won't eat any kind of raw onion. But that doesn't mean you can't put it in yours for sure. Okay, and I see that the potatoes are done. Just kind of stick that in there. Let me get a couple of larger bowls. So all I'm going to do is actually I'm going to rinse this out because it had the jackfruit in here. We're going to be using, the strainer's going to like pay for itself today for all the things we're going to strain in it. And the corn is looking pretty good. It is still cooking a little bit, and that's fine. Let me show you. If I was going to make it as roasted corn, I might even let it go a little longer. But see, these are the parts I was telling you about, these little caramelized parts. But I'm going to sit this over here so it can cool, so we can cut the kernels off the cob in a little bit. Perhaps I should get my pot holder back. And I'm just going to release the pressure. this is one of the ones that has it in a different place. So let me show you just in case you're new to. So this is the Duo Crisp air fryer, and it has a button that you push. Some of them have a little part here, and you press that. And a lot of times with things that have a lot of water in it, it's better to kind of release it little by little. And see, that's what I was telling you to kind of avoid. So if it's something that has a lot of water in it, water is eventually going to come out a little bit, so it's a little safer just to kind of release it like this instead of let it keep going. It's also easier to clean up. I thought this was going to be a little closer because they've been sitting there for 7 minutes. I'll give it a second. And with this too, you can make all different kinds of potato salads. I'm going to make the old-fashioned kind. And the way we grew up having it, it had eggs in it. So we're going to make it where it tastes like it has eggs in it. And that's, we're going to use kala namak, or black salt, which is pink, which is confusing. But the outside of the rock is black, and it has like a high sulfur count in it, or a high amount of sulfur. So when you smell it, it smells eggy. And that's how we use it. The sodium is a little bit lower, I believe. Let me see if it's, no, they didn't put it on this one. But I do know I need to use more to get that eggy taste, but it doesn't taste over salted. So that's how I'm judging that it's not too much. If you are not having any salt at all, you probably want to avoid it. You could still do any of the other salt-y alternatives like that. Salt substitute, we could do some kelp or things like that, but it's not going to give it the eggy flavor. So that's just the only thing you have to think about. But you can use, and just like what Sandra was saying too, I made my version from when I'm growing up. You can take that recipe and make it into yours. I was thinking too, like what would be really good would be some shredded zucchini and shredded carrots in there, or to serve it on a green salad with those things in it. This one's just hanging on. It's hanging on there. We're getting there. And I was thinking, instead of mayo for this one, either we can make tofu mayo for this, which wouldn't be a bad idea. Let me go grab that. There we go. Okay, we're getting near the end of it. Wow. I haven't had anything that wanted to keep pressure this much in a long, long, long time. And the pen still hasn't dropped. There we go. Yay. Now we can open it. Okay. So I can tell just by looking at it, let me let you guys see that, you know, you can see some of these little pieces. So it's definitely cooked enough because some of them are cracking a little bit. So we're good to go. I am going to just drain these into the strainer. And I don't know why that particular model of Instant Pot always kind of freaks out just ever so slightly like that when you take it out. I guess it's probably some thing to make sure that you don't pour things in without it. But, you know, I think most people pour their stuff in before then. Long before then. So while those are kind of cooling off, and actually I'm going to run a little cold water over them too to stop them from cooking. And you can use really any kind of potatoes. You can use the tricolor potatoes, you can use russet potatoes, you can use Yukon Gold potatoes. I know everybody has their favorite. I use whatever needs to be used up in my house. That's how I make my decision on which one to use. So first, let's bring this one over and make some of that tofu mayo. Okay. And the first thing I'm going to do is take some silken tofu. And you can use organic silken tofu. And if you eat oil, it's the green package that's organic. If you eat oil, you could make an aquafaba mayo because it will emulsify with oil. But it's up to you. I don't mind buying some vegan mayo for as little as I use it. It lasts us really quite a long time. Or I still think the better of the non-soy alternatives is going to be vegan yogurt that you store by. Okay, so we're going to put this whole thing in there. Then we are going to, let's see, 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. And this is so easy to make, and it's really not very expensive. There have been a couple of times that vegan mayo was getting kind of expensive, and right now all the things are a little bit extra. I don't know if you've noticed that or not. We're going to put 1 tablespoon of nutritional yeast, and I think that just gives it a little bit of good flavor. This is a 2 tablespoon one, so we put a little nutritional yeast in there. I am going to put a teaspoon of onion powder in there. And that's why I was saying too, when we were talking about that lava yogurt, that the fact that it tastes like it has a little onion powder in there, I think kind of works in our favor for some of these things. Though I was misled when it said pili nut yogurt. I wasn't realizing there was as much coconut in it as there was as well. Okay, then we're going to do a little bit of kala namak if you can do salt. So we're going to put between 1/2 and 1 teaspoon because one of the flavors in mayo is egg. So I'm going to put kind of like 3/4 of a teaspoon in there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of garlic powder. Just put, yeah, I put onion powder in there. Like I said, I did. And a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And remember, you're getting all these recipes in your packet and more, of course. And then you can put a little bit of dry mustard powder in there. I do that sometimes and not always, but it does just give it a little bit more of that sharp flavor. You could also do that by adding a little bit of extra apple cider vinegar too. So this is just my base one. And then we're just going to blend it. It doesn't take much effort at all. And that's probably even blended enough. Okay. And it's not super, super thick, but it's pretty thick. Let me get I mean, it's definitely not thin. It's not quite as thick as that mayonnaise I had, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to taste it, see if I want to change anything else about it. It tastes pretty tag-on close, spot on to me. They're both vinegar forward, which is what I'm kind of looking for right this second. I'm going to rinse this off because if not, I'm going to be really sorry. You can store this in the fridge. Usually I just store it in a mason jar, or you could actually save your next vegan mayo jar and just use it. That would work just fine too. Okay. Alrighty. Now let me get back to the potato salad, which is going to be very simple. And I am going to use some celery seed in this. I think I brought it out. Yes, I did. So let me put this in a bigger container. I'm actually going to cool them down a little bit more. They're still pretty hot. And also, while I'm doing that, I'm going to turn the kettle on so that we can start reconstituting our soy curls for the chicken salad. And I'm okay if some of these mash up a little bit. It's just not that big a deal. I'm going to rinse this out again because we're going to be using it for the soy curls too. So instead of letting all this potato dry on there, we're going to try and get that off first. Okay. Now all of these foods are great for picnics and things like that. You're not going to have the same spoilage rate as you would if you were using an egg-based mayo, but you should still be pretty careful about things. Okay, so I'm going to use dill relish in this. And so if you don't have dill relish, you can use cut up dill pickles. While I was at the store, I picked up some. If you don't have any, don't worry about it. It's okay. So we're going to put about a 1/4 cup. So let me show you this. And this really is, oh, and Colleen is saying, is that the Ninja blender? That is my Ninja blender. And actually, they don't make this exact one anymore. It's like with Auto IQ, but I really like it. And I have some spice grinders that go with it too. So I grind a lot of my spices on there and I love it. So that's about a 1/4 cup. So I wasn't kidding when I said my family loved some pickles, right? That's the way it goes when you're at my house. Okay, and I'm going to do 1 to 2 teaspoons kala namak. So I do have this salt that's just out in here. This is not kala namak. This is just that pink Himalayan salt. So it is different, and I'm not sure you'll be able to see it as good. There's different grinds you can get of this, but let's say if I can even just get one of these guys out, these little balls. See, you can see it's different in color. And again, if you want to make this without salt, feel free. It's just, this is what's going to give it that southern potato salad. And I'm going to try and get some that don't have the balls on it, or that are kind of not as crunched up, or I can go ahead and just grind some of them in my hand. I just don't want anyone to get this big bite of sulfury powder, right? And I said use 1 to 2, so I'm going to use about 1.5. And the reason, this has just been here a long time. Usually it doesn't clump up quite that much. But even if you smell, if you could smell my hand right now, it smells a lot like eggs. Or at least a little bit like eggs. And so that's where we're getting kind of that southern eggy potato salad. We're going to do like a 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper in here. And anywhere from 1/8 to 1/4 of ground celery seed. So I'll kind of do in between. You could also put real cut up celery in there, depending if you have some or not, right? So sometimes that's the question is, do you have that? And then we're going to put about 1/2 cup of vegan mayo, really as much as it needs. So that's kind of subjective. So I'm just going to take our tofu mayonnaise, our oil-free mayo, and then we're going to fold it in. And also, I'm going to go ahead and put about a teaspoon of yellow mustard in there too. This is how food gets seasoned sometimes in the South. Mayonnaise and mustard. Okay, and see, I probably could have gone a little lighter on the mayo, but I don't mind it like this, especially once it gets cold. I like it when it's super creamy like this. And that's why I don't mind if some of the potatoes are a little broken up. I think it just adds to that creamy and lets you use less other things in it. So let's take a taste and see if we need to add more things. Definitely salty enough between the dill pickle relish, the mayo, and the kale namak. It's got a nice mustard taste, more mustard taste than you would expect. But this is just kind of our plain old basic tater salad here in the South. You could add more mustard. You could use you could leave out the mayo altogether and maybe just put in, if you use oil, you could make this kind of like an olive oil balsamic potato salad. You can make it something much fancier. I think I linked to this in our packet. I have a potato niçoise salad I make in the Instant Pot, which is like definitely more of an elevated salad, and you'll get that too. That's where you're cooking potatoes and green beans and different things and making this composed salad out of it. This is what you get out of the fridge when you're hungry and it's too hot to cook. So I like it just the way it is. So you guys could choose to use more mustard or not. You could choose to not use all the dill pickles that I just used too. So that's totally up to you. Okay, but that's really just how simple it is to make that. And what I want to do next, get some of these. I made you a big packet. So some of the things we aren't even really using right now. I'm also giving you a sriracha avocado chickpea salad recipe, which is so simple. You're just smashing up the avocado, mayo, sriracha, a little apple cider vinegar, and liquid smoke with the chickpeas to kind of make a special kind of tuna salad. It doesn't look like tuna salad the way ours does. The way the one that we just put in the fridge. That's not flaky and beautiful, but something about canned chickpeas kind of gives the illusion and flavor of canned tuna, and that's why it's kind of become passed down that that's one of the ways things happen. And I'll talk a little bit about soy curls, and then we'll move on to make the next salad. So I just boiled some water in the kettle. You could do this with, these are just, if you haven't seen soy curls before, they're just non-GMO soybeans that have been cooked and extruded. It is actually a brand name, Butler Soy Curls. It's made in the Pacific Northwest, and they're great. You can get them on Amazon. Depending on where you live, you might be able to get them at a store. Some friends in Canada have found them in the grocery stores. I'm super jealous of that, and Seventh-day Adventist stores. So it takes about 10 minutes for these to reconstitute. What's going to happen is when it's time, I'm going to then strain all the water out of it, and I'm going to use like this to press on them a little bit. We're putting the flavor on the outside. So with soy curls, you have two things. You can either cook it in your sauce like we did last class. We cooked them in our creamy butter chicken sauce, so it absorbed all of that. Sometimes if I want to make them and then do something else with them, this is how I would do it. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so what we're going to make next is the tofu salad. We're going to make this different than I usually make it, so I'm kind of excited about this. So what we have is 1 block of organic tofu, super firm. And so what super firm means is that it doesn't need to be pressed. I mean, this thing is solid, right? It's not like the others. We could also probably make half a recipe of this. But I'm kind of curious to see if I can freeze it as well. So I'm just going to come in here and I'm going to break it up. And then we're going to actually, this is how I make scrambled tofu as well. And this is why I love this super firm tofu. Because you don't have to think ahead. It's just ready to go. You could also, you know, back in the 80s and 90s, this is how we made ground beef substitute, was pressing tofu and crumbling it and using like some kitchen bouquet or soy sauce or something. So if you don't do tofu, I'm not really sure what a good substitute would be for egg salad. And honestly, I think I would just kind of skip this one, because you could do the same flavors with chickpeas or something like that, but it's not going to give you that kind of mouthfeel. Also, with chicken salad, you could do that instead of, we're using soy curls, you could use tempeh and crumble up tempeh. So you could make something with these similar flavors in that. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make this like the yolk part. And you know what? I think I am only gonna use half of this. Let me find something to put it in. Because I think that's gonna make really more egg salad than 2 people can eat. So I'm just going to take some of that out. So we'll use half a block of it. And I like to get in there and get it really squished up. Okay, I'm going to rinse my hands for the obvious reasons. All right. And I'm going to get the cutting board and knife, because we're actually going to try and cut some of the silken tofu once this is ready. So the silken tofu is going to kind of give us some of the textures of egg white in this. So that's the goal. So let's get some turmeric in here. We want to make sure that we get the color right. And I'm going to go ahead and start with a 1/4 teaspoon because we want it to be more yellow than orange if possible. But we want to make sure there's some color on it. And this is exactly what I do with my scrambled tofu too, only I'm going to add other flavors in it. I would add more marjoram, basil, and you could do things like that with your egg salad too. You could have fancy ladies luncheon egg salad. Vegan egg salad, obviously, but just in case anyone was thinking I was talking about the real eggs, I promise you I am not. And see how that's gotten a pretty good color to it. I've definitely gone too far where it ends up being orange, but I think I'm going to put 1/4 and 1/8. I think we're going to call it at 1/4 and 1/8. And how are you guys doing? You're all being so quiet today. I almost feel like I'm here by myself. I actually went out to the grocery store first today, and I think that I need to not do that on any other Saturdays. I think it was and so I'm just going to get in there and really make sure I'm getting all this looking the way I want to and squishing all those pieces. And also, the more I do this, honestly, the less I'm going to need any kind of mayo or yogurt to stick this together. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some kalanamak. I'm going to put in probably about 1/2 teaspoon to start off with. And I'm going to squish that in there too with about 1/4 teaspoon of black pepper. Oh, it smells like eggs already, so I'm pretty sure that's the magic amount. Okay. All right. And I licked a finger, so I can use a little bit more, I think. So I did 1/4 teaspoon pepper. We're going to do 1 teaspoon kalanamak. So let me get a little more of that in there. Of course, I have one of those big blocks. And you don't have to use silken tofu. Like even right now, it looks pretty much like egg salad. I just thought this would be a really cool thing to do. And I'm going to go ahead and put in, actually, since I have just a little bit in here, I'm going to try and clean this guy out, which I think is going to be about a tablespoon. probably pretty darn close to a tablespoon, maybe a tablespoon and a half. Okay. All right, and then we could put a little bit of mustard in, or we could put a little bit of stone ground mustard. I'm going to put probably just a tiny bit. Like that's probably, can you see it right there? Probably a 1/16 teaspoon. Oh, you smelling the egg salad?
Yeah.
It's smelling pretty good, huh?
Yeah, I'm going to grab one.
Okay, well, it'll be ready for you to taste in just a minute, I think. So I'm just going to see if that's enough to kind of moisten it. And a lot of it is on the spoon. So let me get a spatula. And I promise we're doing fancy chicken salad, so don't forget about that.
Smells delicious.
Well, here, wait a minute, and you can say hey to everybody.
I'm probably very red.
It's okay, just wave. That's Cheryl. She's mowing the yard. That's why she looks like that. There's no heart attack happening, I promise. Okay, so I think it may need a little bit more mayo than that. But again, you're just going to put it for you to where it works for you. And you can use the tofu mayo. You can use the regular mayo. It's all up to you. Get another, because I also know that I'm going to get some more stuff in here. I'm thinking I might need 2 tablespoons more. I'll let you see from the top. Because I want it to be, you know, salady. And that's a little dry. I think my tofu is a little dry. If you're doing maybe that's not extra firm, it's going to end up being watery, but it won't be as dry. So see, that's starting to look the way I think it should look. So right now, I think we're on somewhere like 3 to 4 tablespoons of mayo. And we'll see if we need a little bit more or not. And I need to take a little taste. You want to take a little taste so far, Cheryl? It's not quite done yet. It's pretty good.
Now, you know me.
It could have a little more mayo in there, I think.
I have a little more mayo for me, and then I would stop, right? But everybody else.
Cheryl, no. So the only thing we're doing different, I want you to hang out for this actually. Put that over there. Is that we're going to put in some of the silken tofu. And actually, because of that, I may end up adding a little bit more kala namak too, just because I want to flavor those pieces a little bit. And let me let you see. So we're just making it a little less dry. And that's how I'm deciding when the mayonnaise is enough. And you could totally make a whole block of this instead of not. Oh, yay, Marilyn's here. Oh no, Marilyn. Well, I'm so glad you're here. And egg salad is something she's missed. And Marilyn, you can have soy, right? We are making Mexican corn salad, but I have an alternative for you for that one. Oh, good. And Marilyn says, hi, Cheryl. Not there. Okay, awesome. How long will the tofu mayo last in the refrigerator? That is a good point. It should last longer than a week. It should last up to 2 weeks because of the vinegar in it, if your fridge is very cold. If you leave it out like I'm going to for a couple of hours, it's probably only going to be 1 week. So here's the grand experiment. Is we're going to take some of this organic silken tofu, and I'm going to chop it up, and we're going to see if it looks more like egg salad. Because I can't remember, Marilyn, was it you or Joanne that was talking about this to me at some point? And I think we probably can do, let me pour this water out. There's not much in there, but it'll seem like a lot when you squish it onto the cutting board. Yes, it's silken tofu. See, it looks like, oh, let me take,
It's like Jello.
it does look kind of like Jello. Okay, watch it wiggle. Okay, so I'm gonna, and some of it's gonna come apart, and that's okay because eggs don't look perfect, right? After you smush them. Let's see if I can do it. Oh, can't do it that way. Can do it this way. Let's see if that's enough.
Because, you know, an egg salad, you don't see that much.
Depends on the kind of egg salad. Remember the place we saw the other day that had a lot of egg white in it?
Yeah, I guess it did.
We went to a place that had some vegan and gluten-free stuff in Winston, but they had some egg salad in the case.
It had green stuff in it too.
Yeah, well, there's lots of nasty things about eggs. So I'm going to fold this in. I think it's going to be harder than I think it is. So, and you can smush the silken tofu a little bit. Like you don't want it to be in those chunks. I was just trying to be a little, you know, I was being a little bit me. But see how that looks? And the texture is going to be slightly different. I am going to go ahead and add probably another 1/4 teaspoon of the kala namak in there so that I can mix it in and hit those spots too. Here, wait 1 second. You gotta, I know you're trying to miss the rain, but I need you to taste this. I gotta mix this in real quick. Is the texture better?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
That's really good.
Okay.
Keeper.
And I'm going to put in a little more of that too. That lift from the egg whites, that was something I liked when I was growing up. So again, I'm going to put probably about half. And again, you don't have to add this. So if this seems like a lot of bother, then don't do it. I'm going to take this other part and probably either make some kind of sauce or make like a little pudding or something like that with it. So we're not really going to waste it either. It was Joanne. So Marilyn was saying, it could have been Joanne that was mentioning it, but someone was like, oh. I was like, that's a great idea. And once I find out whose idea is, I will tell you. I am not trying to keep their glory for myself, I promise. So I'll let you see this one more time, so as I'm just kind of folding it in. And Marilyn said that she does use silken tofu, and she's had a hard time finding the organic variety. Sometimes you can find it at Costco. And see, to me, this looks much better even. So yeah, I would definitely use half a block of super firm and at least half a block of silken. And I'll put extra color. And you could change these things, but to me, growing up, tuna salad was the reason to eat pickles, and egg salad was just this simplistic perfection. And now with this, with the silken tofu in there, I think it really does do it. It's easy. This could also still go into like an avocado half, tomato half, those really cute, like what are they, 8-ball zucchinis, or a lemon cucumber to stuff that in there. But I kind of like the way you see some of that egg white, right? I think that that looks really cool. And It tastes just like egg salad to me. Just like. So we'll sit this away. I'm going to have all the things, all the places. Let me show you what these soy curls look like right now. And I'll move up some of it. Yeah, in Costco, sometimes they have it and sometimes they don't. It makes me crazy a little bit. Okay, so see how now they look a lot like chicken strips. And I know we've been using soy curls a lot. I've been working on a soy curl section for the blog, and I'm thinking of doing a small soy curl ebook because I just love them so much. So they're very waterlogged right now. So what I'm going to do is put them into the strainer, and I'm going to press them with this. I don't need to press every last bit of water out. I just want to get a good amount because then I don't want to add mayonnaise or whatever, yogurt or whatever I'm going to do and have it just turn into water. I also do this when I'm doing my Southern air fried soy curls, which you guys have to try. They are so good. And you can get those on healthyslowcooking.com. At the top, go to air fryer recipes and you'll find it. Also, the not air fryer, but soy curl recipes. I've got 3 new ones and another one to come up. We did the tacos last time, so that's getting ready to go up on the blog too. But if you're in Kathy's Cooking Club, you have access to it already. Okay, and this is what they look like once you have some of the stuff out. And I'm going to see if I can move a few of these guys out of our way for now. And yeah, get lemon. All right, so bring over some of the things we're going to put in. We're going to put in apples and grapes. So these were pretty long grapes, and I cut them into 6 pieces. I've got some celery, and I have some celery leaves that I thought could look really interesting in there too. And I need another big bowl. This is going to be the day that we stretch my bowl skills. Here we go. Okay. All right. So we're going to make this curry with garam masala. You could use a regular curry powder. It's just going to be more cumin and turmeric heavy. Garam masala to me is going to give you a better range of flavors. So I think that may be what you really want. But that's just me talking. And actually, let me grab some cilantro while I'm in here too. Get a little bit of cilantro and another cutting board. Why use 1 cutting board and clean it when you could use 7? Is always my motto during class. Okay. All right, so we have most of the things here, I do believe. But one of the things we're going to do, because I don't want it to have this big chicken strip filling. These are too big for me. Maybe it's because I haven't eaten chicken in a long time. But see, isn't it interesting? Like, look how it even tears. They're just amazing. So what we're going to do is we're going to pulse them in a small food processor, just like we did for the tacos. Only we're going to do it in 2 batches, and we're not going to do it quite as small. I just want to pulse it a little bit. Okay. And I love this. This is my immersion blender. It came with one of these, and I'll put this in our materials too because I do love it. Okay. And so it didn't take very many pulses. There's a couple of bigger-ish pieces, so I might pulse 1 or 2 more times. That looks about like what I'm going for. I don't want it to look like ground chicken. And do you see how similar this looks compared to the jackfruit that we used not that long ago? And so you really could make a tuna salad with soy curls. You can make a tuna salad with jackfruit. And it's still going to give you some of that similar sort of texture. And both you're adding the flavors in. Okay, so let's get the rest of these in here. And the reason I'm doing it this way instead of crumbling them first is I find that they just get too small when I crumble them dry, and I like the way this works a little bit better. There we go. Okay, so that's it, done deal. And I love this because, whereas I don't always love my food processor because it's a pain to clean, and both my best friend Dawn and Joanne now have been telling me about the Breville food processor. I am very much considering it because everybody says it's a lot easier to clean. I had a KitchenAid that I took back, and then I have the Cuisinart now. And it does all the things just fine. I'll show you why I don't like it. This is why I don't like it. Food gets stuck. They give you special tools to clean all that. And I'm not trying to make smoothies in there. I don't need it to be waterproof. What I need it to do is be easy to clean. That's my perspective of all this. You know, your mileage may vary, of course. Oh, Marilyn votes for soy curl book. Okay. All right. I hear you. So maybe you guys need to tell me some soy curl recipes you want me to make. That I would also love to hear. So, and you can smash in the bag. There is not a thing in the world wrong with that. I want you to understand that beyond the shadow of a doubt. But look how pretty this is. And see, we press the water out. It's not that they're bone dry, but there's not a layer of water at the bottom. So I'm putting in probably about 1/4 cup of diced celery. And I made it pretty small. Actually, let's just put it all in here. Let's live on the edge. Woo! And then I cut up a medium apple. This is one of those apples, I forget the name of it. Let me look at the other apple because I have another one. I think I took the tag off both though. But it doesn't brown. As you can see, this has been cut up for a couple of hours. So you could also cut yours up ahead of time or put it with a little bit of apple cider vinegar or balsamic vinegar if you wanted to keep it from turning. I'm saving these celery leaves because I'm thinking they could be cool in there. This is, again, probably about 1/2 cup of grapes. I just wanted to have all the goodies in there. Okay. We could also put some raisins in there. I just wanted this to be like something ladies' lunch for sure. Ladies' lunch all the way. Lots of fruit, lots of nutrition in here. We could serve this over a kale salad, or we could put kale in here and toss it all together. That's up to you. I'm going to put in probably about, let's see what we got here. Ooh, this cilantro that I have is kind of overgrown. So it's not going to be quite as easy. So let me show you how I'm going to, so the stems have a lot of really great flavor, but they don't have a lot of great texture. So I don't really want to use the stems in here, but I will use the stems in something else that I'm going to puree or a sauce. Or if you make a cilantro chutney for utapams or dosas, something like that. So I'm kind of picking either the leaves off, I'm leaving some thin stems on, but it's just more of a mouthfeel and a taste that I'm going for with these. So that's why I'm not using the stems, but don't throw the stems away. They have all the flavor that the leaves do. Okay, that's one little, a couple of little pieces in here that don't look great. A couple of leaves that are kind of eh. I'll get those out. Move this over here. Chop this stuff up a little bit. I'm just going to do a coarse chop. I would like people to see that it's cilantro, and I'm probably going to add this in at the end. So this is probably about 3 tablespoons of cilantro. If you like cilantro a lot, add more. If you hate it, leave it out. You could put parsley in instead. You could put any herbs that are growing around. I mean, I guess not any herb since we're using garam masala, but you could change this out. If you, I have lemon balm downstairs, so I could put lemon balm in here. I could put basil, oregano. Any fresh herbs are just awesome for any of these salads. And even like with the potato salad, I could totally see myself chopping up a handful of lemon balm and putting on the top, because they'll give it slight lemony flavor, which would go well with the apple cider or with the vinegary flavors from the mayos that we've been using. And we're going to use yogurt for this one. I'm just trying to remember which yogurt I want to use. I don't think I want to use the peely nut one. I'm just not sure about that one yet. Have you guys tried that? If you have, tell me what it is that you like about it. But see, let's see. Oh, and let me show this too, because Marilyn is like the prime example of what to do when you get soy curls. She gets a 12-pound box. I get them in 6 bags at a time. And there's nothing wrong with getting it. You store it in the freezer if you're going to store it for quite some time. So what Marilyn does is separate it out. So she gets the big pieces, the middle pieces, and the little crumbs, and then she uses them different ways, which I think is just amazing and brilliant. And okay, and Colleen got the 6-pack too. That's what I usually get. Just because it depends. If I get on another tangent with something else, it could wait a long time. Also, our freezers desperately need to be cleaned out. So we're going to start by putting about 1 teaspoon of garam masala. Okay, garam masala is different. Garam masala is like the same way we were talking about tuna salads being kind of home style. Like this one has cumin, coriander, cinnamon, and actually I think this is my own blend, and it's just in this, but like originally it had black pepper, cardamom, cumin, cinnamon, cloves, and coriander. So you could, your mileage may vary. If you've gotten a new to you garam masala, go ahead and start with less. And actually, I think I'm going to put 2 teaspoons in there. And if you're making it from me from one of the books, it would be pretty equal to this. So I'm going to say 2. Okay, I'm just going to mix that in a little bit. We're also going to do, let's do just a little bit of black pepper. I'm going to say like a 1/16 of a teaspoon. There is some black pepper in there, but I just like to get a little bit extra. And if you wanted to make this like a chaat, so Indian chaats or snack foods often have kala namak in it. I'm not really going for that right now, so I'm going to put a little bit of salt in there. I'm probably going to put, I'm going to say a 1/4 teaspoon, and then see. It's probably going to end up being a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, and then let's do yogurt instead. And then I'm also going to keep these celery leaves. So I'm going to mix these spices in, then I'm going to mix in the yogurt. And you know, if you have some yogurt you make at home and it's just not quite thick enough for you, there are 2 things you can do. So one, if it's super thin, if it's really, really liquidy, you can just start putting that in smoothies and enjoying the probiotic benefits and call it a day. Because sometimes the world just does things a little bit differently than you'd like it to. But if it's just more like this mayonnaise, you know, like it's not quite thick enough for you, or a little bit less than that, what I would do is use it instead of mayonnaise in these sorts of things, because you can control it a little bit. Okay, what are the dates? We cleaned out the fridge recently. What are the dates? 6/9, August. Okay, this one needs to be used up first, so we're going to use the forager. And let me show you what that looks like. Okay. Oh, these can be so hard sometimes. Okay. And it's a nice, good, thick yogurt. If you taste it, it's just real basic. It's got a little bit of tang from the probiotics, you know, but that's really about it. And let me get a measuring cup. And again, it depends on how. This one I'm thinking we don't want to have it as mayo-y as some of the others. So let's start with a 1/4 cup. I think we're going to end up with a 1/2 cup, but let's just see. I want it just delicately held together. Because this is fancy. Yeah, I think we're still going to need a 1/2 cup. And see how that wasn't exactly a 1/2 cup and that the world didn't end? That was kind of awesome, isn't it? And actually, I would like a better spoon. There we go, yeah. So see, if I was going for like Southern chicken salad, it would be more mayo than anything else, like some of our other dishes were. And again, remember too, though, like that tuna salad and that I used mayo in, you could have used yogurt just as easily. Here we go. See, doesn't that look grown up? There's something grown up about that. I'm going to mix in the cilantro. And I think I'm going to mix in some of these celery leaves too. All of those celery leaves. I actually looked and reached back to pick some celery that actually had leaves on it. I do like to use it in things like this or in salads for flavor. There's an herb called lovage that some of you probably know, I bet Marilyn knows, which actually is just a leafy herb, but it tastes just like celery. And I grew it one year, and actually it's in one of my cookbooks. It makes everybody crazy because it's really hard to get commercially, like at the grocery store or anything. If you might be able to get it from your farmer's market. But look how pretty that is. And let's see what we need in here. Oh, and that's a great idea too. Linda is saying she gets her soy curls directly from Butler, and then she gets like some samples of things too. So I'm going to take some of this. Let's get a grape in there too. It's really nice, that sweetness of the grape. It definitely needs more flavor though. So I think I need another 1/2 teaspoon of garam masala. I can sort of taste it, but it's a little bit in the background, a little bit more. I think also I want to add in a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic. Because remember, I haven't put any salt in here yet. Oh, I guess I put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So I put a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic, and a 1/2 teaspoon, and 2.5 teaspoons of that. I think I'm going to go ahead and add that other 1/4 teaspoon of salt that I thought I was going to be adding too. And I think I'm going to go ahead and up that 1/8 of a teaspoon of black pepper to a 1/4 teaspoon. So let me make some notes so that I can tell you guys all the things I just did. And then it may need some more yogurt too. And here's the thing, if I was using mayonnaise, I may not need to do any of these things because I'd have the tang of the vinegar. And I'm not having the tang of the vinegar. We could also add in some vinegar, lemon juice or lime juice. So that would be another thing that we could do. Let you guys see this. Ooh, and Marilyn likes to dehydrate celery leaves. That's super smart. That's a super smart thing to do too. Okay. Good on the curry. Good on the salt and the pepper. The garlic really, it was necessary, I feel like. It upped it a little bit. If you can't do onion or garlic, there is an Indian ingredient called hing. It's also asafoetida, and I cannot spell that, and I'm probably not saying it right. So it comes in this little bottle. You get at the Indian's market. When you get it home and you open it, it smells horrible. So I just want you to know it's supposed to smell horrible. And when I store it in 4 different Ziplocs and still put it in a sealed container because it will make your pantry smell. So it smells a little bit like gas, like the kind you don't want to admit that just happened or something, right? But what it does when you and you use like a pinch, like a 1/16 of a teaspoon into something, it's magic. And it makes everything taste wonderful because there is, some people for religious reasons don't eat onions and garlic, and it's the perfect substitute. I don't have any in the house right now, or I would put a little bit in here. I think that would be really good. I think I am going to put another 1/4 cup of yogurt in here. I think it could just use a little more creaminess. And again, that can be up to you. And see how it's not super white. It's still not like this mayo salad. My friend Dawn hates mayonnaise and anything white. She wouldn't eat this with yogurt in it either, I don't think. She's not a fan of any of these types of things. Another thing we could do, that gave it a little bit better. I think I am going to let me wash this lemon real quick. And I'm going to go ahead and put some lemon zest in. I don't know that I really want to water it down much more, which is why I'm not putting lemon juice in there. I don't want all the stuff to come off. But the oils off of this are really going to add a little bit of something. Okay, so when you do this, you don't want to get past that white. You want to just get the yellow as much as possible. We probably can do this whole lemon in here, but I'll stop at some point and check it. And then I really hit this because see how it all sticks in there. Sometimes you can, and that can help too. And if you smell this right now, it's such a strong lemon smell because you're actually getting the oils. Those lemon oils are brilliant. Yeah, it can take the rest. And this lemon is a little older, so it's not quite as juicy on the skin. So you might notice that your lemon, if you taste halfway, was plenty. So it's better to go ahead and do half and taste it instead of being surprised and that you went too far. Now also when you get citrus fruits, you can go ahead and zest and juice them and put the zest and the juice in the fridge. So I would store the zest separate and put the juice in ice cube trays. And I do that a lot. Actually, I made a beautiful lavender lemonade that way recently. See how it gets stuck on there? We don't want to miss any of that good stuff. Okay. Okay. Yep, that's exactly right, Linda. I'll leave it up there. So that little burst of lemon really helped. Still trying to decide. No, I think it's right. It could maybe use a little more salt, honestly. And you know what else it needs? Oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot this. It needs some nutritional yeast to give it that chicken flavor. That's what it's missing. So let's go ahead and start with 2 tablespoons. I think we're probably going to use a 1/4 cup. But let's see. Better to start small. Because remember, we can't take it out once we put it in. We can always put in more. And that's just going to give us a little bit of that umami chickeny flavor. Nutritional yeast is a great sub for cheese flavors, and it's also great in soups and stews. And it's in most of the vegan chicken broths. And there's a reason. Yeah, it's much better. But I'm gonna, yeah, it needs a 1/4 cup. That was what was missing. Absolutely. If you're making some sort of chicken substitute for whatever dish you're making, like if you're using seitan or you're using soy curls in a stew, you're probably going to have to add some of that. We even added it to our butter chicken. So I think this one's good right here. You could choose to add a little more salt, to add a little more garam masala. You could also put red onion in there. You could put carrots. You could put other shredded vegetables in there to go along with it or to serve on top. But I think this would make a really pretty sandwich. It'd also be a really pretty, it'd be really pretty in anything, honestly. In a tomato, in an avocado, any of those things, it would be beautiful. Yeah, Marilyn, I like the green in there too. So like, remember, some of it's cilantro and some of it was celery leaves. So if you don't hate cilantro, you can totally just put in parsley or celery leaves. If you really like cilantro, like if it's just me eating it, I could put a cup of cilantro in here and not even think twice. Cheryl, that's too much for her. That's absolutely too much for her. So that's one thing to think about. Okay. So we've got our corn. That's cool enough for me to cut on it, which is awesome. we're going to make a couple of things to go with this too. And I need to grab, let me show you this. Get some ancho. Look at these, I'm getting some chili powders. And we're going to make kind of our own Parmesan. We did a Mexican pasta corn a while ago. So I put those links in here too, which gives you a no vegan queso fresco made with tofu and a no oil chili lime mayo. So I'm still giving you those. But we're going to make like a Parmesan, and we're going to use some powders, some chili powders. So one thing you'll see is some of this stuff, which is dipping powder, which has lime and dried chilies and some sugar usually in it. And it is delicious on corn and fruit and so many other things. And in fact, let me grab a couple of limes. My limes are a little on the last leg too, but I think we can get some good oil and hopefully juice as well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut this corn off. And I'm not even going to wash my knife because it has cilantro on it. And that's what I want to have on it. And so Marilyn holds the lemon steady and moves the upside down grater over it so she can see how deep you're going. I can kind of feel it usually, and I think I kind of check, and we're not making a lot of this Mexican corn, so we're using right now 4 ears of corn that we've roasted in the air fryer. And I'm just going to cut off some of these kernels. You could totally make this with frozen. I won't tell anybody. And see, and you won't have to pull out all these extra strings that I didn't get off. But I just wanted to show you, and you can also cut the kernels off before you cook them. I just wanted this to roast really well and get a little bit of that kind of flavor. I like that a lot. No surprises there. Okay, so that's one. We'll get any of these hairs off of there that we can see in advance. I'm sure I'll be picking them out of the big bowl of corn too. Okay, we're going to do this a couple more times. You just want to make sure when you're doing this, because corn is round and it's going to try and roll over, so you want to hold it very carefully, right? Move it along. It's easier after the first one because now we're sitting it on the flat side. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can get a teeny little cutting board. I'm getting some of the hairs off of this, or silk, I guess hair. And so like this one, this is going to sit better here. I checked it. I'm holding it firmly down to the counter. And that's how you can safely do this. There's also things you can get that like take the corn off the cob, but honestly, I don't think it's any faster than doing it this way. Maybe I'm just being a cranky old person, but it just seems like that works just as well, and it doesn't cost you any money. And I know that I'm funny in that I have all those kitchen appliances, and I do love my avocado tool. I will say that, but there's some I'm just like, I don't really need something to go, because also I think that's harder for me because it's got a circle in it and you just push it down the corn like this. I'm 5'1", so let's just say I don't get a lot of leverage. So this is definitely way easier for me to do. And you know, it's 4 cuts per ear. if you were, doing a whole acre's worth of harvest, this would be a little extra. This would be a little more than you'd want to be involved with. But for right now, I think we can do it just fine. Okay. Now, the other thing, I do still need to cut up some cilantro for this. But I'm going to come in here and break up those pieces of corn. I could also do that with my hand because I just want it to be kernels. And you could cook the corn until more of it is smoky than this. And then as you're doing this, you may find some more hairs that you can take out. Okay. I'm going to rinse my hand, cut up some cilantro to put in there, and then we will continue. I'm off camera, but I'm just over here grabbing some cilantro, pulling off the leaves just like I was doing before when you saw me. This cilantro that I got is super stalky, which again will make a wonderful chutney. So I'm looking forward to making it for a chutney, and I'm cursing it while I'm trying to fool with it right now. Okay, so I've got a couple of tablespoons, and I'm just going to chop it roughly. That looks great. Okay, so we've got that. We can use any of the creamy sauces. We can also make our own kind of creamy sauce if we wanted to with nuts. We could experiment with one with oats if you'd like to today. But one of the things we are going to make next is we're just going to make a quick Parmesan. So it's not going to be like the white cheeses. We're going to make it a little bit different, but we are going to use, you can use either cashews or slivered almonds or either one. I do have, let's see, the one I have in the packet uses slivered almonds. But so why don't we do a combination? Just do this. I'll do 2 tablespoons. Actually, let's do a 1/4 cup of almonds, 1/4 cup of cashews, and if you would rather not use nuts and use tofu, again, that fresca, the queso fresca is in there, is in your packet. We're going to put in about a 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast, because that's really where the cheesy flavor is coming from. Actually, we'll just finish this one on out. Time to fill it back up. And then I usually put in some salt, because cheese is both kind of got that fun flavor, but it also is salty. You could use the salt-free blend, the one that's with garlic powder, onion powder, and celery seed instead. I'm going to put 1/2 teaspoon of salt in. Let me put all this nooch. I'm going to put some onion powder in there and garlic powder. So we're going to put about a teaspoon. Let's do 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. And if you wanted to, you could put some dry mustard. I'm going to skip the dry mustard right now. I think that's going to be pretty good. Okay, so then we're just going to pulse it. We don't want it to turn into like a nut butter. We just want it to kind of turn it into a Parmesan. And you literally can use this. Let's see if I can. we go. Okay. And see how it just turned into like a powder. It looks a lot like store-bought Parmesan. There's still a couple of nuts in there that I noticed from the side. So I'm going to pulse it a couple more times. Okay, because we don't want any of that. But we don't want it to get too wet. See, it's already starting to get to a point where it could start to cling together a little bit. I'm going to do one more. Okay. And that's it. And see, it's kind of crumbly. It's going to be really nice in this. So we can taste it and see if it needs anything. You could put, I'm trying to think, you can't, I do have it where you could put some oil in there if you wanted to. I think it's kind of silly. I think it's great the way it is right now. And this, again, you're going to store in the fridge, and this should last for a very long time, like a month or two, because it should last as long as nuts would in your fridge. And see how that was just starting to get where it's a little bit wet, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. All right, so we've got our cheese element. We have our corn element. Okay. And let's go ahead and put in some chili. So we're going to not use the chili with the lime. So this is a guajillo chili powder. So let's go ahead and put a teaspoon of it. It's lighter than the ancho, both in color and in flavor. Yeah, you can kind of see that. So if all you had was ancho, it would be great. You could totally use it. Actually, just mix these up, the lids with the instructions. But so let's use 1 teaspoon. If you don't have chili powder or any dried chilies to make them, you could use whatever seasoning you might have that has lime powder. Just realize there's going to be some sugar in there and probably some extra salt as well. So let's see if we may need 2 teaspoons. I'd like a little bit more. So we're going to do 2 teaspoons of the guajillo chili powder. Okay, and then I've got these limes. So I'm going to, what I do is I roll it. I can do this. I don't think we're going to use both, but just in case, I am going to go ahead. Actually, I'm not going to go ahead and cut it. I'm going to get that where the lemon was. I'm just going to live on the edge. And so what Marilyn was saying is she does it, I think, like this. But that's asking too much for me, I think. So I'm going to get this green. Plus, it'll add a nice little green garnish in there and a burst of lime flavor. Like I said, this one is pretty darn dehydrated and old, but it's still smelling beautifully. You're getting that really bright lime flavor, which just is a little bit more complex to me than a lemon flavor. You see how pretty that is? And that's going to add those lime oils around in there. So we've already smushed it. I'm going to cut it. There's not going to be, there's not much juice. I'm going to need my citrus reamer, which should be right here. Or I can just try the lime squeezer. Sometimes this helps get some more. Yeah, that got a good bit out. And I'll do the next one where you can see it from the front. Okay. I'm going to pop it in this way. You can see it squeeze out. See that stream? So if it's really juicy, sometimes you can get away without doing it that way. And I want you to see this. We just kind of want to get it to be ever so glistening. It's not quite glistening enough. So I'm tasting it to see if there's going to, we can definitely use that other lime. And it could be just because, again, remember my lime isn't so awesome. It's a little old, it's a little weaker. If you had one juicy new lime, that would be all you'd need. And Cheryl's outside mowing. She's coming in. I can hear her go, oh, so it must be hot outside. She will appreciate the cool salad dinner. My mom used to call this cold plate dinner, when you had things like chicken salad and potato salad, no cooking involved, right? And Marilyn in Louisiana probably already needs those, and so do we here in North Carolina. See if I can get any of that extra lime zest off of there. Cut that lime. Now it's glistening. That makes me happier. And so if I taste this, oh yeah, it's bright lime. Before it was like you could sort of taste the lime, but not really. So you could add in more chili powder depending on how much you would like to be there. We can go ahead and put in some of this tofu mayo that has a little bit of vinegar in there. So I'm just going to probably put in right now, let's start with like 2 tablespoons. Because I don't want too much, and there's lime juice. I just want to get it kind of creamy. So we did 2. I think we could go up to 3. So we did 3 tablespoons tofu mayonnaise. And I think we probably could go ahead and do another, because the guajillo is not a spicy chili. So even though it looks, you might be like, ooh, that looks so spicy. Or at least Cheryl would say, ooh, that looks so spicy. Let's put one more in there. We'll put 3 teaspoons. Yeah, that's going to add more of that yummy, yummy flavor. And this is really good. We made a corn pasta salad with this last year, I think. With street corn, obviously not this exact version. Let me taste this. Yeah. I'm sorry, let's see if we can get that to, here we go. It's nice and limey. I want it more limey than I do mayonnaise-y, but I could add a little bit of yogurt in here too, because this is a little bit thicker than our tofu mayonnaise. We want it to look just a little bit creamier. We can kind of do a combo. Or sour cream. Actually this would be a great recipe to use sour cream instead of any of the mayonnaises, even though mayonnaise is traditionally used. And then I'm going to say, probably going to put 3 tablespoons of the Parmesan in. We want it to be ooh so cheesy. And we can do it by taste or sight, depending on what you're going for. I'm going to add one more in. So I think that's a 1/4 cup. I'll have to, and I'm going to go ahead and put in probably about a 1/4 cup of cilantro. Okay. And you could add more, and you could also always decorate per serving or for the whole table with more Parmesan and cilantro on top. But it's much less messy. You could do a similar thing on the cobs. We could put the mayonnaise. I probably at this point would choose the yogurt because it's thicker and it's less likely to drop off, or the vegan mayonnaise. But it's still going to drop off some. So usually what they do is the corn cob is here. You put mayonnaise and then you put the chili, lime zest. You could use the chili lime powder on there, and either put queso fresca or some kind of drier cheese. But this is really good. I think Cheryl's not in the house, or I would have her. Cheryl?
Yeah.
Oh, you are here. Come here, taste this. She is it. It's Mexican corn salad. This is one of Cheryl's favorite things to have. It's okay, they know you're mowing. You always get out of the front. Do you,
It's good. I like it.
this is the Parmesan I made. Do you want to taste that?
It's good.
Oh, taste one more thing before you go. The show and tell. I made a curried chicken salad. So I'll have Cheryl taste that too. You want to hold it or you want me to hold it? Cheryl's our Mikey.
Is it tasty? It's got a lot of fruit in it.
It's a fruity salad.
Well,
That was an apple.
now there's a little burn.
There's nothing spicy in there.
Something spicy in there.
There's nothing. Black pepper. There is some black pepper in there.
Is there arugula in there?
Nope, there's celery leaves and cilantro. See, she tries to make things be spicy that aren't spicy. She's like, I see something, I know it must be spicy. So this Parmesan, not only can I make more Mexican corn salad, I could go ahead and put this on spaghetti. I can put it on my, I don't have time to cook spaghetti jarred sauce meal. I could put it and make a Caesar salad. And how I usually make my Caesar salad is like you could use this tofu mayo. Then I do put like zest and juice of half a big lemon in there. It just depends until it's your taste. I usually go ahead and put garlic powder, onion powder, a little salt and pepper, and mix that up really good. You could, it uses anchovies. We don't do anything fishy flavored because of Cheryl. It also has egg in it, so I usually put a little kalanamak salt in there. And then just mix that up and put the Parmesan on top. So that's another way you could use it. Do you guys have any questions today at all? Because what we've done today is we've made a curried chicken salad with soy curls. We made a Mexican corn salad. We made Southern style potato salad. We made my mama's tuna salad with using jackfruit that we broke up in the food processor that made it look like the expensive flaky tuna. With the chicken salad, we used soy curls that we reconstituted, and then we chopped them up in a small food processor. and we made egg salad, and we made it look more like egg salad by using extra firm tofu as the base and mixed all of our spices and turmeric and things like that in there. And then we chopped some pieces of silken tofu to add in for that egg white kind of texture and look. So other than that, if you guys have some soy curl recipes you're interested in, or some chicken recipes you'd like me to veganize, I can veganize those with soy curls. Go right ahead and email me at kathyhester@gmail.com and just put soy curl ideas in the subject, and I would be glad to do that. So next class is in 2 weeks. We're going to be doing Thai food, and then next month we're going to be doing Vietnamese food. I am still planning on doing ice creams and nice creams in July. So if you would like me not to do that, email and let me know. And Marilyn, the earlier recipes is probably what your mama made. So the tuna salad's pretty basic, and so is the potato salad, but I just wanted to kind of give us a range. So even the ones that I'm giving you a recipe that's like pretty much mayonnaise, mustard, and relish, you could turn that into this curried chicken salad too. So I want you to have some familiar recipes, a few that are maybe new to you or maybe not something you grew up with. But just know that all those mediums, soy curls, tuna, jackfruit, shredded is what I meant, vegan tuna in my head, tofu, chickpeas, banana leaves are something else. I haven't done a lot with them, but we're probably going to do a class on that before the year ends. You can make some different fish things. I've heard of people using that and jackfruit in their tuna salad. So there's really no ends to the variations. The main takeaway, if you have something favorite that you grew up with or that you miss, you can make it with one of these substitutes. No problem at all. The other thing too is, like, let's say you're on Pinterest and you saw this beautiful chicken salad made with real chicken. This is how you can make that, how you can just sub it out. I would, probably look at any of the other ingredients, see what needs to change. We know that our soy curl chicken isn't going to be flavorful. Neither will our jackfruit chicken if we use that. So we'd have to add in maybe a little extra salt, a little extra seasoning, and some nutritional yeast to bring that chicken flavor. But that should pretty much give you enough to choose from. This is going to give us a lot to eat. And I may, with some of the ones with the tofu mayo, I may actually try freezing. So if I do that, I'll come back and let you know if they froze or not, because I think some of the stuff should freeze easily too. So unless you have some other questions, I will, and again, if you're watching the replay, you can email me directly, or if you put your question in Podia below where the video is, they come straight to my email. So I will answer them as soon as I can. And hopefully this makes your summer a little more homey, because that's kind of feeling nostalgic. I feel like I need some nostalgia food that still fits into my diet, isn't full of oil, isn't deep fried, and things like that. So hopefully this gives you a little taste of that too, and I'll look forward to seeing you 2 weeks in the next class. So have an amazing rest of your weekend.